There we go, guys, and good morning. If you are joining us again for this, I always say it's early, but today it feels especially early on our live recap show for Battlefield Clan War Season 3, and this is, of course, week 3 show. So, but we're 3 weeks into it, things are going well, and with me I've got a couple of people as always. Let's start there with the regulars. Slash, how are you, buddy?
I'm good, man. Fresh, awake. Got
Saturday.
kids duty. Yeah. Saturday, so early up. So yeah. I had my coffee.
You've been running the house this week, have you? The wife has been away, and you've been. I don't want to say the mouse has been boss, but
No, she can be here anytime. Huh? I tell you, being on kids duty is tough.
like a man, like a. And then of course we've got Riplets with us as well. Riplets Monster, what's up, bud?
What's up? What's up? How you doing?
Yeah, good. Yeah, good. You sound like you didn't have a too late Friday night, so all good.
Yeah, all good. Just cold, tired, and monster's not working.
You mean the monster drink or the monster as in you?
Both. Both.
Excellent. No, it's all good. It's all good. So, guys, interesting week on the battlefield. As always, I mean, we are in season 3, so as everybody knows by now, we are closing out, Clan Wars in season 3. This will be the last Clan Wars that we do on Battlefield 1. And obviously, there's, the guys that we are supporting within the league at the moment is the fighters. It's the guys that, playing to the end, and so there's a lot of respect from my side for teams who participate at the moment and participate in full force. But yeah, it's been interesting. Unfortunately, and we'll probably talk about it when we get to the table. But unfortunately, I mean, there's again, as we have every season, there are some teams that are taking strain in terms of numbers and in terms of people, getting them to play the game within their teams and that sort of thing. So unfortunately, we did have some teams pulling out this week as well. But as always, we've done this. We've, as I said to some guys that I was chatting to on a party the other night, this isn't our first rodeo. We've come to know what to expect and what to do and that sort of thing. So there are some teams that pulled out, but we know how to handle that, and we'll handle that going forward as well. It doesn't stop anything from going on. We adjust things as needed and as is, call it, fair. We continue, right?
Yeah. We put one foot in front of the other and keep moving.
Yeah, absolutely. Slash, you had, sorry, I interrupted you there.
Oh no, that was Riplets. Yeah, look, I mean, we'll move forward. It is from our side extremely disappointing that this still happens. But what can we do? I mean, it's out of our control.
Absolutely, absolutely. So interesting games happening this week. Besides or interesting things besides the games on on the battlefield itself. Obviously, there was some interesting things happening with the admin and that sort of stuff. And Rips, you can actually give us an update, maybe. I think it's actually going, from that perspective, it's going rather well at the moment. I mean, I think the guys are now getting into, logging their games, logging their fixtures. I mean, here and there's still one or two issues, and obviously we'll speak about one specific team this morning a little bit as well. That's in jeopardy of that elusive red card. But other than that, I think it's going rather well.
Yeah, I mean, myself and Rox, we try not to do weekly reminders because we are in season 3, as you said. Like, we understand new teams if they don't really get it 100%, but come, guys, it's third week. We don't need to remind you to log your fixtures. Don't rely on the other team to log your fixtures or your results. And yeah, I mean, it's so far so good. We haven't had that many yellow cards. We actually haven't had any issue this week because guys are actually up to scratch. They're pulling their part, which makes our jobs a lot easier, which makes updates on the website a lot faster, a lot easier as well. But yeah, so from myself and Rox, I mean, thanks to all the guys that are actually helping us by logging the fixtures correctly, logging the results correctly. There's no hiccups there so far.
Yeah, yeah. No, I've noticed that that it's sort of things are, going a little bit better in terms of logging the fixtures and that sort of stuff. And I have seen, call it, less reminders, which I think is good, right? I mean, I know it's season 3, and we, and the reality is, come season 4, well, whether it's gonna be season 4 or season 1, that remains to be seen. but for now, let's call it season 4. So come season 4, we're probably gonna have to rehash all of this, right? In terms of letting the guys know again how to do it and what to do, because there's a couple of reasons, right? I mean, with Battlefield 5, chances are that we will have a whole host of new players, as we've seen with every Battlefield game that's ever launched. I mean, I've been playing Battlefield for, just ever in a yonks. And, what always happens is that you find people that, come on board with the new title that has never played the game before. And they either come across from other games, or they've just never sort of invested in the game. And if a new title comes out, a lot of people, what they do is they don't like investing in an older title and then trying to play it. They sort of get on board when the new title launches. So we're bound to see new players entering, and of course with that comes new teams entering, and that sort of thing. So chances are that we might have to, rehash some of these things again, when we get into Battlefield 5. And then obviously, the guys that stick around, hopefully they will remember how it works. But also, there will be a little bit of a period that will pass between the end of Season 3 and the start of Season 4. And, from what I know from people, most of them are not elephants. They have a memory, and it's not always that long. So we'll get into doing the rules again and doing all sorts of stuff like that. But at the moment, I mean, I'm very excited for Battlefield 5 and the sort of plans that we have talked about so far. There is a lot of discussion going on. There's a lot of thinking going on around, what should be done with Season 5 and that sort of thing. So I am really excited. At the moment, it is still very, very far off for us. I mean, once Season 3 finishes, from a Battle Bros perspective, I mean, we will take a bit of a break. We have been exceptionally busy this year, with the 3 seasons and with everything going on. So we also need to get to some game time, take some downtime on the games and that sort of stuff. Not for long, and then the planning will start around the new season. But very excited. I mean, so far what we've discussed and what we've been thinking about is awesome, and I think it's going to be great. So yeah, that's where we are. Thoughts from your side, Slash?
Yeah. I'm sure the game won't be in any case ready to play off the bat. I think that's the norm.
Yeah.
And downtime will be good. Clear our heads and just be normal again instead of running around.
What's normal, Slash?
Yeah, the norm of norm. What do you call it?
The abnormally normal.
Yeah, but it will be good to see the new game modes and what is available and what you can do and all these kind of things. I think it will bring more life into the game again, get people excited and ready to jump on board once we are ready, to throw the next season out.
Absolutely. Monster?
I mean, I can't wait. I mean, Battlefield 1 still a great game, but yeah, we need a bit of a change now. It's long. We've been waiting for this game for almost 6 months. It just needs to come now.
Absolutely. Look, the other thing as well is, I mean, the interesting thing about Battlefield though is that and I think it's about the player base, right? But I mean, as the game ages, the player base, normally what we've seen with Battlefield is there's a clear projected life cycle on these games, right? So the game sort of kicks off, and the guys who buy it is the the hardcore fans and the guys who know Battlefield, or the guys who want to get into Battlefield, right? But it's not always, not everybody buys it off the cuff. And then probably about 2 or 3 months into the game, you find that there's a spike in player numbers. And that's when that's when all the people buy the game that said, well, look, I'm just going to wait for it a little bit. I just want to see what it's about before I buy it. And then they buy it.
Let the price drop a bit.
Yeah, and normally there's a bit of a price adjustment and that sort of thing, right? So then we see a big player spike. And then normally about a year into the game, there's a spike in players again, because because of a price drop. Because normally what happens is about a year later they'll have some sort of year anniversary, or the game's been out for a year and some sort of special, and then you'll see a player spike. But that player spike lasts literally for about 6 months, and then what happens is they announce the new game right within their cycle. And for the last 6 months of the game, it's really the hardcore players that continue, playing it and hanging out and that sort of thing, because everybody's obviously waiting for the new game. But the interesting thing that happens with Battlefield as well is that even if the new title launches, there are always those players that remain on, call it the previous title, and play the game, right? I mean, we still have, I personally still do a lot of support for Battlefield 4, for example. There are still comps going on Battlefield 4. There's still streams going on Battlefield 4, and I know players that in the PS3 community still play Battlefield 3 as well. So, Battlefield is just one of those games, right? I mean, even though the new title comes out and, that's what we talk about and it's exciting and that's what we play, there's always those players in the background that support the older Battlefield games. And I think that's a good feather in DICE's cap. Granted, they do break things and they don't always get it 100% right. But the players that they attract, there's still people playing those games all the time. So, yeah, that's my thoughts, at least, around the life cycle of the game. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, look, I think you're spot on. I don't think, in my opinion, Battlefield 1 will get that same dedication as Battlefield 4. I think it was more competitive, and people can host tournaments for much longer.
Yeah.
So hopefully Battlefield 5 brings something back that came out of 4, to bring that competitiveness into the game again. Not that Battlefield 1 is not competitive, but I think it's just run down a lot quicker than if you look at the other titles. So they'll have to do something to bring that excitement back for the comp guys who loves playing in a lobby, but they love the aspect of competitive gaming even more. I think it was slightly lost in this version of Battlefield 1, and that's why a lot of people are probably exiting a lot sooner and is not as excited to get involved in the comp side of things anymore.
Absolutely.
Agreed. I mean, they try to introduce incursions, which went absolutely nowhere. We were looking forward to it. We thought it was a brilliant idea, and I don't see any updates on that. I don't see it actually end up working for the rest of Battlefield 1.
Yeah.
I understand there was a concept for Battlefield 5 that they're going to test in Battlefield 1, but still, why release a game mode that doesn't work 100%?
Yeah. Look, to be honest with you, incursions, I'm not 100% sure what's happening with it globally, but I think from a South African perspective, I think the fact that there were no South African servers on incursions, the fact that the game mode wasn't, call it completely working at the time of launch for us specifically, the fact that you needed to download an additional client to play it, I think all of those things influenced, the success of what incursions was. But maybe just to highlight something that Slash said, from what I've been reading, and I've been doing a lot of reading around Battlefield 5 and things that will be on the game and available and that sort of stuff. And there is a lot of game mechanics and the way the game works that they will be bringing back from Battlefield 4 into Battlefield 5. If I just think off the cuff very quickly, sorry, apologies guys. If I just think off the cuff very quickly, for example, if you think about the way the Battlefield 1 works now in terms of a ticket up system, right? So what I mean by that is when you play something like Conquest, everybody starts at 0 and we play towards, say, for example, 200 tickets. So the first team to reach 200 tickets, is the team that will win. Now, while that is, I mean, it's one way to sort of play the game. The one thing that I've noticed about that specific game mechanic is that what tends to happen is that the team that tends to take the lead, sort of early on, all that they have to do is they have to maintain the lead, and it sort of, stays open. Now, I mean, that sounds stupid to some extent, because even if you have a ticket down system or a ticket countdown system, you would argue that will work the same, but it's actually not the case, because what happens is when you both start on 0, there's always almost a relaxing feeling about the start of the game, right? Like, okay, everybody's on 0, we're gaining some tickets, this, that, whatever. Whereas what you notice on ticket down games is that it almost starts with a level of urgency. Because every moment that you let go by is a moment that you are losing a ticket. And I don't know if it's a mental thing or if it's a way that the game's set up, but for some other odd reason, the ticket down system just works better for me in terms of creating that urgency around the game. I mean, maybe this is just my opinion. Maybe that doesn't work for everybody else, but for example, that's one thing that I think is great that they're bringing back. I don't know, Slash, what do you think?
Yeah, look, I mean, that's actually a very valid topic. I mean, if in my head as well, you see something and it's disappearing, would bring some urgency to it than counting up. So you're right, because in the beginning you will get guys who's active and running around and trying to capture that first point. But most guys has got a strategy where I'm going to go and sit and how am I going to get some kills and these kind of things. Where if it's down, you're right. I think seeing that thing count down is frightening. So yeah, that's fantastic to hear that they're looking at little things like that and bringing it in again, to try and change the way people think and the dynamics of that, because people think that way.
And then also, of course, what they are bringing back is weapon attachments, right? Now the thing with weapon attachments is, in Battlefield 1 we had very little, right? Well, actually, we didn't have any. I mean, you could, you could skin a weapon and that sort of stuff, but there was nothing that influenced, the gun and the way the gun worked and that sort of thing. And I mean, in Battlefield 4, for example, that was one of the things that made the gunplay in Battlefield 4 extremely successful, right? Because me and you could both be playing with exactly the same weapon, but because of my attachments, the weapon just functioned better, or whatever may be the case. So there was a lot of variables to consider, and from a competitive perspective, any guy that plays competitive will tell you that it's about the variables, right? It's about the little things that you can do that make you better than the player on the other side. So obviously they're bringing back weapon attachments, which I'm extremely excited about. I don't know, Rips. I mean, you've been playing competitive, for a long time as well. I mean, what's your view on that?
No. I agree with you. Weapon attachments, they can make the smallest weapon attachment can make the biggest deal in your gun battles. I mean, if you can take any game across the board, not just Battlefield, but any game, and your class setup, the way you actually have your primary weapon set up with a long distance or close distance, whatever you suit your playstyle. Then your secondary, you've got the same option. You can make it cool. Let's go a bit more stealthier. The type of grenades that you attach, all that. So yeah, it's at the end of the day, it does make a major difference, and you'll see the ones with the better class setups could actually end up being the ones on top of the leaderboard.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, I mean, the whole idea for me around the cosmetic stuff. I mean, I've always been a fan of personalization in games and that sort of thing. Now, to be honest, this is something that we might see change with every Battlefield update in Battlefield 5 when they do it, because it is the first time that Battlefield is getting into something like this. And when I say first time, I mean, I'm not counting, gun skins as a cosmetic sort of adaptation. I mean, this is, different. I'm talking about player cosmetics, right? And personalizing your player based on, some sort of game currency or whatever may be the case. So, I mean, this is new to Battlefield. For me personally, again, I mean, I find it exciting because I like the personalization element or the customization element of the character, and especially in something like multiplayer. I mean, that's the one thing that Battlefield has always, gotten some serious flack for, is that everybody looks the same. Within the multiplayer environment. Then, of course, with Battlefield 1, I think they did start, especially with the different classes and the different factions and, countries and that sort of thing. There was some individualization, but it was, sort of still very generic, right? Whereas what they're aiming for with Battlefield 5 is obviously complete personalization in terms of individualization of characters, right? And I think there's a lot of people that will actually, find that even more immersive, within the gaming environment. I mean, Battlefield as it stands at the moment, and Battlefield 5 specifically, aims at immersion into warfare. And doing things that immerses you into that environment, into how the war plays out, into how you drive a tank, how you fire a weapon, and that sort of thing. And I think it's probably the one thing that they didn't always have, is that personalization element, which they are now obviously looking to bring into Battlefield 5. I'm not sure if I'm the only one that's that excited about personalization, guys. I don't know. What's your views?
Yeah. No, I think it's good. I mean, Battlefield does a lot of things good, but this is one of the things that they needed to. I believe they needed to adapt, or they're going to die in that section. I think they looked at the market, and there's obviously a platform out there called Fortnite that came from nothing, and it's massive. and it's and even though some people don't like it, me including, I'm not a big Fortnite fan. But if I look at my son and those kind of things, to be able to change, in the next, let's say, X amount of gameplays that he's got, to be able to change just his skin makes him excited about the game, so he plays it more and he gets involved more into that aspect. I think Battlefield is more than just that, but there's a lot of people that want to be different. I mean, so I'm happy that they are bringing it in, and I really look forward to see what that's going to bring, and to see how it's going to look at the end of the day, and what you can all do in there, even if you have
Slash.
Yep, I think we lost Slash there for a second. Rips, your views?
Yeah, I mean, before Battlefield 1, I was busy on Destiny, where you are able to customize absolutely everything, from your helmet to your chest armor to your leg armor. And for me, you work your butt off just to get the top looking skins, well, your top looking armor. Yeah, the different armor had different values, but at the end of the day, we all picked what we thought looked amazing, and it's gonna make Battlefield 5 one of the, if the customization that we're thinking of is at that extent, it can make Battlefield 5 one hell of a game. I mean, running around with your team emblem on your back or whatever, it's gonna look amazing.
Yeah. So just talking about that, Monster, I mean, from a competitive perspective, I mean, how important do you think it would be for clans to have some sort of clan individualization? I mean, I'm just thinking off the top of my head. Let's say, for example, in the trailers and in the early gameplay videos of Battlefield 5, we all saw this, call it metal hook on the arm, right? I mean, there might be an opportunity to say, look, if you play in our clan, that's an accessory that everybody in the clan wears, and it almost becomes something that stands out on the battlefield as something that a clan has. They call it an individual item or an individualized item or something like that. So, I mean, how important do you think that's from a let's call it a clan perspective?
From a clan perspective, I mean, we're not going to know 100% of what we're going to have access to until the game releases. But yeah, like if you say your main color on your uniform needs to look like this when playing comp games or whatever, then yeah, I think that's going to make it amazing, because right now in running through comp games, 9 times out of 10, if you do not look at the little icons above your team's head, everybody looks the same. It's not going to be like, okay, cool, that's an enemy, let me start shooting there. It takes that split second to go, okay, shit, no, that's actually my teammate. So either he's shooting at someone or he's being shot at, let me assist him or let me move on. So it's gonna help a lot with to make your clan stand out as well. You're gonna be able to be your own individual team. You're not gonna look like everyone else. You're not going to be part of the norm. You can go absolutely berserk. Well, that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Slash, are you back?
Yeah. Did I drop off? I was thinking I was talking to myself there for a while.
You pulled the Scully.
Did I pull the Scully?
You pulled the Scully.
Man, sorry. But I'm here on YouTube, and Ricky says he wants to wear a pink tutu, Yaku, just for you. I don't know what that means. Maybe it's a private joke. But a valid point that Slangfell is making, Slang Zerian is making here, is that first of all, the game should work. It's obviously different developers that works on these different things inside a game, but I agree, it's a valid point. The game must work, and when they bring out an update, they must make sure it works and not use the people playing the game as the guinea pigs, to come in with another fix or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what the beta's for. You've got to find these major bugs first before you release the final game.
Absolutely. And then, guys, obviously, I mean, I know I'm watching the time for us and we're about to move on to the tables, but I mean, the two other things then that I think for me, something that I'm waiting for is obviously there's this whole new mechanic around, the ability of all players, and then of course the support players more so, to be able to build these structures within the game. And I think that for me is a major game changer in terms of the way a Battlefield will work. Because Battlefield has always been about, finding cover, destroying cover, and, using the environment to your advantage. And for the first time, they're really giving players the option to actually, change the environment, and not in a destructive way, right? So call it a rebuilding sort of way. So I think that's an exciting thing for me as well. I don't know if there's views on that.
Well, I've been watching a lot of gameplay, and the one thing I have noticed is that the structures that you are able to put up can only be put up in certain areas.
Yes.
Like there are specific points that you can do this. So if it was more free range, say for instance, as Slash mentioned earlier, Fortnite, where you can build absolutely anywhere. Yes, you're restricted with the direction and where the placements go. You can't just free roam it. If that was an option, then it could actually end up changing the outcome of the game. If you find a complete strategic point on top of a hill, but you need to fortify it so you can hold down that point. Instead of, okay, I can't build here, but I can build here, but now this part is slightly out of the way.
Yeah.
That's my only issue with that. And I won't lie, it takes a bit of time to build that structure. It's not like a quick build. So that's also going to be a major key in the defenses that you want to build.
Yeah. Slash?
Yeah, look, I mean, I'm a big fan of Bob the Builder. So for them to bring it in, I think it's going to be fantastic. I think it's going to add some new dynamics to the game. Even if it's, as Rips mentioned, rigid at this stage, and you can only do it in certain places. But the fact that somebody blows down a building and you can build that cover up again, I think that's awesome. It's going to be really fun to try that and play that.
And also, I think a lot of these things are specifically, as Battlefield always does, they're specifically aimed at team gameplay, right? I mean, because of the fact that it takes long to build something up, it means that, you have to have somebody covering you while you are doing that, right? You have to have a teammate, spotting enemies coming towards you or covering your back while you're building or whatever may be the case. So I guess, a big part of it is also, focused on, the team play element or the team play aspect, right? That you can't really do this thing alone, which is, what Battlefield has always been about, right? It's always been about, playing with your mates, playing with a team, playing in a squad, that sort of thing. So I think they're keeping with that theme, which is good. since there's not a lot of first-person shooters that actually get that right in terms of the game, the team gameplay and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah,
100% there.
So
I mean,
sorry,
your like for Battlefield 1, your support class has a bit of functionality, but now they're actually allowing support to be a lot more involved than repairing a tank, holding down a bit of cover fire. It's actually going to be able to build these structures. Everybody's is going to be able to play that support role, being able to play that medic role. It's Battlefield 5. They're expanding quite a bit, and it's going to be fun to see what they can do with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, obviously, if you have joined us this morning, thank you very much for joining us. You are joining us, of course, for the Saturday morning recap show of Season 3, Week 3. So we are getting into it. Of course, this is not a very long season. I think in total it's about 8 weeks or 9 weeks it will be. So compared to the 15-16 week cycle of Season 2, it is a rather short season actually. And you might be wondering why we are talking this morning a lot about Battlefield 5. I thought I would take the opportunity to talk about it a little bit because we are obviously in the planning phases of Season 4, which will be the first season for Battlefield Clan Wars on Battlefield 5. Obviously Season 3, the last season on Battlefield 1, and then we'll close out for a bit and take some time off. But that is why we are talking about Battlefield 5. And obviously, it is the thing that everybody is waiting for at the moment. We are pretty much playing Battlefield 1 at the moment because Battlefield 5 is not there yet. And that's sort of what we're doing. But if you are joining us this morning, thank you very much for that. If you're already subscribed to the channel, that's also great. If you are not, please hit the little subscribe button. Also hit the little bell to get your notifications whenever we go online. It does help us with what we're trying to do and achieve for both the community as well as Battlefield Clan Wars. With me this morning, of course, joining me, you've heard them talking for a while. If you've been on the stream, we have the Slashinator, and we of course have Riplets Monster with us as well this morning. Scully Rebel is still on his secret or top secret government mission, so he will be returning once and if he comes alive back from that. So that is where we are. But gents, I think it's time for us to move on to the weekly tables. And Rips, you have it in front of you there as well as Slash. So we're going to talk through those. And the first ones that we are going to be looking at is the T12 tables, and of course we are looking at Division 1 at the moment. So, a couple of teams there standing out at the top at the moment. The three teams heading up that division is LGD, MSNK, and Red. All three of those teams, actually everybody in Division 1 here has played their 2 games. And the reason, of course, why it says 2 games is that because of the uneven number, and we'll talk about that uneven number now, but because of the uneven number, obviously there's a bye week for these teams, or there has been a bye week for these teams that partake within the division. Of course, we are in week 3, and that's why it says 2 games played because of the different buys. But all the games played there at the moment, and the 3 teams there, all 3 on 6 points at the moment: LGD, MSNK, and Red. The other teams in here, of course, very strong as well. First, 4Q and WTF. And of course, the reason why I'm not mentioning MAD is that, as people probably knew and they've seen from communication this week, of course, MAD unfortunately pulling out of the T12 now for Season 3 in terms of player availability and that sort of thing. So we wish them well for the future. They have pulled out, and of course there was also a very big discussion going on around what should happen to the points. Now, I'm definitely not going to get into that discussion this morning. What I am going to say is that, guys, whenever you do make opinions, just bear in mind that the overall objective for us, from a bros perspective, and especially within the Clan Wars environment, is to make it as fair and as equal for everyone that participates, right? There's always one golden rule for us, and that golden rule is the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. So it's, if I have to choose to satisfy one team or 20 teams, unfortunately it's good judgment to go with satisfying the 20 teams. So the way that we do things and the way that we approach these rules and that sort of thing is always about trying to remain as fair as possible to the many and not the few. So that's all I'm going to say. And again, I'm not going to get into that discussion. I think we've had enough of that discussion during the week. But that is where we are. The basic rule of thumb is that if a team withdraws, it's as if they were never there. I think that pretty much sums up the rule.
Yeah.
Spot on. Yeah.
Right. So in saying that, of course, just recapping then, Division 1, the three teams at the top is LGD, MSMK and Red. Guys, I don't know if there's any views from your side here. I mean, I think surprises maybe. I was rooting quite heavily for 4Q here in this division, and I thought that they would be a little bit higher up at this stage. But I mean, again, we are only in week 3, so there's still some time for them to open that up. I mean, I had a look at some of their games as well as first. I mean, all the teams in here at the moment are exceptionally good and really pushing the boundaries at the moment of Division 1, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I streamed 4Q Mate versus Red this week. Had a very fun time streaming that game. Very close all the way till the end. 4Q Mates, I mean, Bigfoot, come, you dropping our hopes up. Get your guys in line there. Yeah, I should be up there with Red.
Yep. Slash?
Yeah, it's still earlier.
Yeah.
2 games played, 6 points, but yeah, I think we expected that LGD and MSMK is going to be right on top, and it will be keen to see what they're going to do. But yeah, still too early to make predictions. Yeah, I think there might be some things still coming out of the woodwork. Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously some of these teams still need to play each other, the 3 at the top especially, right?
Correct.
Excellent. Moving on then to Division 2. So in Division 2 we have at the top there again 3 teams on 6 points. That is CTK, Raw and Royal. Well done there, Rips. That's your team there. And then of course we've got SPK, SOA and VTRN, and unfortunately a team that has dropped out of this division is THC, and again you will see the scores there has been updated, so everything there shows 0. So those allocations have been done. I think for me CTK is definitely standing out. They are at the top of the table there, but also Raw here putting up a hell of a fight. I sort of suspected or expected, probably is a better way to say it, that the Royal guys would be high up in this division. I mean, you guys have shown in season 1, you were the winners of the T5 there. In season 2, you sort of got to the the second place. So I sort of expected you guys to be up here, but Raw at the moment in this division is really impressing me. Playing really well as CTK. And then of course there's the other impressive thing is the 2 new teams in here as well. That's SBK and SOA. These guys are playing hard as well. I mean, I watched an SOA game earlier in the week, and then of course I watched the VTRN game as well, which was also exciting to watch. But that was the T5 game that I watched on VTRN side, which we'll talk about as well. But also strong teams. I don't know, guys, what's your views? I mean, I didn't expect CTK at the top, so they're impressing me at the moment.
Not necessarily at the top. It's a 3-way tie.
Well, okay, that's true. That's true.
Well, technically it's a 2-way tie because Raw's played 3 games and won 6 points.
There's the competitiveness now coming out.
Come, Yaku. Let's get this sorted. I mean, Royal plays CTK next week Thursday. I think Pondo actually on the stream is busy commentating. I think he might do the stream for us, but I mean, I'm not 100% sure right now. But CTK versus Raw next week. That's gonna change up things. I mean, Raw being very strong this season. CTK as well. They're both playing exceptionally well. Unfortunately, I haven't seen SPK play. SOA as well. Brand new team, second season, and these guys are phenomenal. I mean, we played them this weekend. We had a good game. They've grown so much since second season. It's great to see how these teams are going from battling in the first season, and then the next season they've all of a sudden picked up their game, and now they've got their strategy sorted, and now they're working their way to the top.
Yeah. But a good division nonetheless.
Yeah, very fun division. If it's easy to deal with everybody here. There's no issues. I mean, Roxy from Raw, absolute star to deal with. We've managed to set up games, get the fixtures logged. SBK, SOA, veterans as well, the CTK as well. I mean, we've never had issues trying to organize fixtures, get results sorted. Yeah, so this division I'm actually more excited to watch, not 1 or 3. I'm sorry, that's my opinion.
Excellent. Good, man. Moving on to Division 3 then. Division 3 here, we have... actually, there's a bit of a split here. So we've got Lots, that's the Lots with the S. On the top there with 7 points. S187 with the 6, and then they are followed by a point split there on 3 points. That's GSE and UB. And I think for me, it's interesting to see. I mean, obviously, Lots have played their 3 games. They've had 1 loss and they're on the 7 points. Whereas S187 have only played the 2 games, 0 losses, and they're on the 6 points. So, I mean, obviously, there's going to be some change up here, again. But at the moment, Lots, with those 3 games played on the 7 points, they're really not doing badly at the moment. And interesting to see that S187, I mean, these guys, they missed the season. They're back and they're in Division 3, yeah? And they are playing, they're playing their part, right? I mean, I suspected them to be high up on the table, and I can see that they are. But GSE and UB also fighting it out. So we'll see what comes of Division 3. I don't know, Slash, what's your views here?
Yeah, it's good to see S187 coming back and they being there on top. As you said, we expected them to be there. But as I say, and as we've seen last season, it's sometimes very difficult, and you put your foot into it by saying things too early.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. But I'm quite keen to see what's going to happen with GSE and UB. To me, I think they're very good teams. And just to see where they're going to end at the end of the season. And how these guys climb at the end of the day, and just growing as each game they play.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
Good. So, guys, that is the T12 tables for this morning. Let's move on to the T5 tables then. And we're looking at Pool 1. Obviously, these are not, division-based. They're pool-based. So, looking at Pool 1, we've got LGD Asset there on 9 points, followed by MRU on 6. Then, of course, we've got the Rabbits in there on 3. So, those are the 3 teams standing out there at the moment. And then, of course, now looking here at CTK and Royal, they obviously, have the zeros at the moment. So, I know we highlighted this last season when we started with the T5, but maybe just to sort of point it out again. This is what happens sometimes, right? You have a team that plays T12 and, absolutely dominate, right? And then go to T5 where the strats are different and, where the gameplay is different. And then, of course, they don't always do that well, right? So it's very possible to see a team in T12, absolutely excelling and pretty much just wrecking. And then you see them in T5 and they, might not be doing, as well as in the T12. But at the moment, LGD Asset, MRU and Dead Rabbits are at the top of this pool. Guys, I don't know if there's comments about, specifically maybe your views around that point, that you get teams that do very well in one sort of game mode and not the other.
Yeah, but I also think this is quite a strong division or pool out of the ones that we've got.
Yeah.
But you're right. I'm sure there's guys who play better in a bigger squad than just in the T5 where you only have 5 players to watch your back and to play together.
Absolutely.
So, but hopefully we can see some wins coming from Royal and CTK, and they can put some score on the board. Again, it's only 2 games in for them, and I don't think so much is going to change for LGG. I think, what can we say there?
Yeah.
They
Fully mad.
Good. Moving on to Pool 2 then. So Pool 2 at the moment, we've got Red there on the top of 6 points, OSB with 3, and the GSG girls there with the 1. Destruction, of course, and UB haven't put points on the board in Pool 2 as yet. Pool 3, you are looking at VTRN, that's the Killers. They are sharing that first position with Mob, both on 6. Then we've got Headhunters and the Royal Jewels on 3, and then of course SOA hasn't put points on the board here. This is interesting for me because this Killers team of VTRN, I've managed to also watch one of their games. I think I did mention it earlier. These guys are performing exceptionally well for me, and especially in this pool, I think they're having a hell of a lot of fun. I mean, Mob is a brand new team. Obviously, they're not brand new players. I think we all know the players from Mob, you know, from sort of being around the battlefield and that sort of thing. But it's the first time that Mob is entering, and they are a very strong team. So I think VTRN and maybe you know, the Headhunters and the Royal guys and even SOA are having some good fun with this division. I think it's or with this pool. I think it's a strong pool as well, and I think there's some good games happening. I actually watched 2 games within this pool during the week, so it was nice to see. Drips?
Yeah, I mean, from our side, VTR, and as you said, T12, they're sitting at the bottom of the log, but here in their pool, they're sitting at the top. It shows completely what the difference between running a 12-man squad and a 5-man squad. It could make the biggest difference. You've got 5 strongest players pushing this, which could make you land up on the top of the leaderboard here.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good to see the Killers on top with Mob. I watched a bit of Headhunters versus Royal last night. Headhunters played a very brilliant game. It was quite a decent score between them. But yeah, I've got to have a word with my boys here. They need to pick up the game.
Have a word there, you say.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Right, Pool 4 then. Sorry, Slash, did you still wanted to call out something on Pool 3?
No, you can continue.
Right, Pool 4 then. So Reps, here you come into your own then. The Royal.
This is where our first team lies.
So the Royal Crowns here at the top on 6 points. Then we have a shared position between Al's Mayhem and THC. And then of course we've got Lots there at the bottom who managed to put that point on the board as well. Now of course, guys, something that you will notice, but with both the MAD teams as well as the THC teams in here, is that of course those guys withdrew from the teams that withdrew from the T12. Some of them of course have T5 teams that will continue within the Clan War space, because obviously those T12 teams are dropping off because of player availability, but within the T5 environment they might still have the players available to play. So that is why you of course see both the MAD and the THC teams still in here and still competing. And at the moment, still competing very, very strong, sharing those 3 points with Al's Mayhem and THC, and then of course Royal Crowns there at the top on 6. So Rips, a question that I wanted to ask you about the Royal Crowns. I mean, we've seen the Royal Jewels and I mean, is it the name the Royal Crowns? Is it just around? I mean, what sort of made you guys go the crown and the jewels and that sort of thing?
So, royalty speaking, the crown is basically what shows you the king, the queen, and so forth. It's the top of the hierarchy. Diamonds are basically the prized possessions, and then obviously the jewels in between the legs. Our pride and joys protect them. We look after them. It's the leaders in Royal came up with the names. It was like, cool, call first, second, and third this. But we don't really want to say first, second, and third because we can actually say our teams are very evenly matched. But yeah, we can't separate them. So sticking with the royal theme, we've got crowns, the royal diamonds, and the jewels. Yeah, that's the only reason we did it. We couldn't go, okay, cool, let's call us the Killers, because it doesn't stick with the theme.
All right, that makes sense. Right, pool four. That was pool four. Moving on to pool five then. So here we have DPS on 9, MRU on 3, and then everybody else hasn't put score on the board as yet. So really not a lot to say about this division, as it stands. Of course, DPS have played their 3 games there. Yes, and they've actually played like almost all the games in this pool, right? Because they've played both MRU as well as the VTRN Heroes, and then the only other guys who played in this division as yet is Raki. So really not much to say about this division. I think 3 games, 3 wins for DPS so far, and they're on the 9 points. So some other teams in here that are strong as well, but definitely still early days, especially for this pool. There's still a lot of guys that need to rack in the games here.
100%.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to take them off the top of that list, but there's still movement for the rest of the guys, so exciting times. Let's see what the rest of the guys in there can do.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, moving on to the final pool then, and that is pool 6. And of course we have MSNK here at the top on 9 points. Again, 3 games played, 3 games won, 9 points. SNLV on 4. We've got Gig 797, the A team there on 3. WTF on 3 as well, and then Native have also put a point on the board. But the one thing that I wanted to call out this morning, and this is what we said right in the beginning of the show, is that this is the first time that we have a team that has 3 yellow cards because of infringements, and that is my Clown Boykies. And I like the Clown Boykies. And they are on 3 yellow cards at the moment. So guys, just to rehash for those of you who don't know the way it works, you will get 3 yellow cards, and basically that's 3 warnings. And then on your 4th warning, or your 4th warning, will actually be a red card. Now, this is problematic because if you look at the table at the moment, SNLV have 4 points, and a red card will be a deduction of 5 points off the league table, right? Yeah. So if there's another infringement, they can go from being second in the pool to last. Yeah, that's literally what will happen, because it will be -1. Well, based on the current scoring, right? Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I don't like calling out things like this, but SNLV, log those pictures, boykies.
Yeah, I do feel for the guys. I mean, they clown, so I mean, they might like the yellow and the red thing going on. But,
I love this team,
kind of
man.
Scenario, it shouldn't happen. When you want to paint your face, then go for it. Yeah. Put your war paint on. But hopefully, we don't see.
I wouldn't like seeing. Points, I wouldn't like seeing these guys, drop points in the table just because of that, right? I mean, I'd love to see them sort of, up in the higher end of this pool and that sort of thing. So let's hope that doesn't happen. But it seems that Rips is very strict. So
no, don't. Yes, I am. I'm Oprah when it comes to handing out the. It's the Clown Boys are.
Did you just say you Oprah when it comes to handing out yellow cards? You get a yellow card. You get a yellow card. Everyone gets a yellow card.
And then when it's the red card, all of a sudden you just see that hand slam on the desk and go, "Okay, now it's enough."
Yeah, absolutely. But let's hope that doesn't happen, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, right, guys, and that was the pools for this morning. So I mean, that's what we had to talk about around the T12 and the T5. So again, if you are joining us this morning, thank you very much for joining us for our Saturday morning live recap show on the weekly events. And this was, of course, for season 3, week 3. I think it was in all, it was an exciting week for me. Some nice stuff happened. Some teams dropped off, as I say, that it always happens. We have it every season. We don't like it, but unfortunately, it's the way that things goes. The teams are really performing exceptionally well. Some exciting things happening on the table. Some teams standing out that I didn't think will stand out, and obviously some other guys that are performing as they should or as we expected. But it was a great week, and I loved every moment. Just maybe 1 or 2 things before we go. Some things that I would like to touch on. Guys, again, I know it's season 3, and by now most people are aware of exactly, what is allowed and what is not allowed. But, we talked about the weapon list a couple of weeks ago. We talked about it last week again, and I do want to mention it again. If you are not sure which weapons are allowed or not allowed or disallowed or banned or DLC or whatever may be the case, all of that information is available on the website that you will find at www.bfclanwars.net under the section called News, and under the element or under the banner called Clan Wars, there is an article there around weapons list. It's a document that was set up or that somebody helped us with from the community in terms of setting up. And it is a great list of weapons that are available, or weapons that are allowed and weapons that are not allowed, and shouldn't be in the competitive environment at this stage. So please, if you are still unfamiliar with that, go and familiarize yourself with that weapon list. Again, I saw a game this week that was lost by a team because of a DLC weapon being used. It's not a great way to lose a game. You want to lose a game because the other guys outplayed you, not because you used a weapon that you were not allowed to. So go and familiarize yourself with that list and make sure you know what's going on there. Then, of course, from a streaming perspective, sorry guys, I doubt anybody wants to say anything about the weapons list. I think we've talked it to death.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so. Moving on. From a stream perspective, guys, thank you very much for all the guys that are doing some streams. I see there's quite a few people on board, helping us out with the streams and doing some streams and that sort of thing. And as always, I've got my little Excel spreadsheet out, and I'm tracking, who does streams and how many they're doing and that sort of thing. Obviously, in light of being able to provide some awards, to the dedicated streamers at the end of the season. So thank you very much for that, for the guys that are doing that and bringing the games to the community. And then, of course, that we still have that call it open invitation for people that would like to write some articles for the battlefieldclanwars.net site. We have some people, Vandango and a couple of other people, that have already put their hands up to write some of those articles and call it blog on the website there, but that invitation is still open if more people would like to do so. So if you are an aspiring writer and you would like to do some articles or write something there for the site, please get in touch with Scully Rebel. He will give you the access rights and tell you how to do that and how to get whatever you would like to say onto the website. Talking about the website, of course, Scully's made some additional improvements. So from our side, thank you very much, Scully, for that. Again, it's great to see that every week there's still improvements going on, things that is adding and that sort of stuff. That's, of course, also where the scores are that we talked about this morning. And if you don't know where to find it by now, that is www.bfclanwars.net. There's all the information, all the league tables are there, the rules are there, everything is there. So guys, go and check it out. But yeah, that's the things I wanted to touch on. Gentlemen, from your side, any last thoughts? Maybe let's start there with Rips.
Yeah, from my side, guys, just keep logging those fixtures, and you guys, we haven't had any yellow cards issued this week, so good. Let's not have any more next week. SNLV, please come, boys. Get your game together. Let's not get you a red next week.
Yep. Slash.
Yeah, no, for sure. We don't want to see that. To all the teams out there still kicking it up and participating, good luck to you all your games. And if you want to chat to us in Discord.
Or anywhere else.
Yeah. Well, Discord is the one that normally flames up and flames down. But I think it
keeps us busy for 3 hours.
But it's a good and easy medium, if you want to raise anything or just chat or get advice or anything else. Hit us up there.
Absolutely. Excellent. Gentlemen, from my side, thank you very much again for joining me for the stream. It was lovely having you. Rips, I know that you don't always get to join us, but it was great to, when you are here and we can get some view from somebody who's actually playing, within the league. Slash, as always, on your post, dedicated, and I just I enjoy having you around as well. There's always a good opinion. Let's call it a level-headed opinion. that I can rely on. So it's also been having fun, or it's also been fun having you around. But from my side, I had fun as always, but that's what we had for this morning. We will see you guys later again in the week on some of the streams that we do. And then, of course, we will be back next week, Saturday at 9 o'clock. If you're already subscribed to the channel, thank you very much for that. If you are not, please hit the little subscribe button. Also hit the little bell to get your notifications whenever we go online. It does help us with what we're trying to achieve for the community as well as Battlefield Clan Wars. But that's what we had for today. Guys, I'm Yakasau for Battle Bros. See you on the battlefield.